Thanks a lot, Dr. Richa. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Jindal Global Business School, as well as to you and to the students who made it here today. It's an occasion of great honor for me. So my time is very short. This module called Seven Step to Integral Leadership. This actually I had prepared it as a one-day module, but since the time is very short, I have to really compress it, and so I'll just straight away go into the subject. Am I audible? Am I clear?
Yeah, absolutely clear, sir.
Okay. So we'll start with the first step to the integral leadership. Can the first slide be shown, please? Just for a few seconds.
Sir, is it visible? A vision and a mission.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the first step to integral leadership. What do we mean by a vision and a mission? A leader must have a vision. A leader sees something that others don't. That is what makes him a leader. He has a vision. Let's now I'll take some solid examples from history so that you can relate. Take Jamshedji Tata. He had a vision for an independent India where our industries would not be dependent on foreign technology or on foreign aid. So with that vision, he started an industry, and that grew around the city, a whole city, the city of Jamshedpur. That's how the Tisco came up. Initially, it was Tisco, now it's called Tata Steel. So that was the result of the vision of one man. And then, there's a very interesting anecdote that when he was, Swamiji was going to the West in that same ship, Jamshedji was there. And after talking to Swamiji, he was inspired that India should be independent in its technical knowledge also. And accordingly, the Indian Institute of Science was set up in Bangalore. So that's a vision. Now, let's take another example. Say Gandhi. Gandhi had a vision of satyagraha. Gandhi's experiment with satyagraha and non-violent protest is a unique approach in the history of the world. No other leader could come up with such an idea and such a vision. Now, what was special about Gandhi's vision? What was special was, at that time, India was a country of 35 crores. So you cannot mobilize such a huge population with armed resistance against a colonial power like British. So this was his method. Through non-violence, through non-violent peaceful means, hundreds, thousands, lakhs, crores can participate in a movement which can paralyze the government. That was the vision of Gandhi. Now, you know about and the main thrust of that vision was you could paralyze the government by disobeying the laws. You need not be violent. You need not take up arms. All you can do is you can do it very easily. You can simply defy the government and its laws in a peaceful, non-violent manner. That's what he did. The British government imposed an unfair salt tax. You know that he took up the Dundee March, and he walked to the seashore, and along with his followers, he manufactured salt on the seashore. That was the Dundee March. Then Khadi, he told the people of his country to spin their own cloth and to wear Khadi. And Swadeshi, all these are, strategies he came up with, and these are all the result of his vision. Now, vision is something that you see. You see something, you visualize something. So along with that, there's the aspect of mission. When that vision is translated into physical terms, into a set of actions, then that becomes a mission. Vision has to be translated into a mission. So mission is the physical active part and vision is the conceptual part. So Gandhi had this. So this is what a leader does. He visualizes something and then that vision he translates into a mission. So vision and a mission, without this, there's no question of any leadership. And even you see, even Gandhi has died almost 70, 80 years ago. And this method of non-violent resistance is being replicated all over the world. People wherever they feel they have something to say, something to say in protest against some government or some authority. That's what they do, non-violent resistance. So that model has come to stay. But it was the vision of one man, that's Gandhi. Okay, now, apart from the political world also, there have been, great visionary leaders in the business world. Ardeshir Godrej, the founder of the Godrej business empire, G.D. Birla, the Birla Empire, Verghese Kurian, the man behind Amul, Narendra Murty, the man behind Infosys, Azim Premji, the man behind Wipro, Devi Shetty, the man behind Narayana Group of Hospitals. You see, these are all visionary leaders. It's not just profit motive and earning millions or billions. They are visionary leaders, and their vision has translated into a great mission, and it's still going on. So the first step is the what we call the integral leadership is a vision and a vision that gets translated into a mission. I hope I've been able to make this point clear. Any doubts about this?
Be a bit louder at least.
Okay. Now can we go to the second slide, please? The second slide, please. Yeah. The second slide says, did you see the slide? Please, the slide once more. Yeah. Can you see it? Yes. Hierarchy is not leadership. Now, what do I mean by this? You see, there's a big confusion in our minds that leadership is a chair. Leadership is not a high chair. Any fool can sit on a high chair and scream, I want this thing done. I want results. I want performance. Any fool can do that. That is not leadership. A chair doesn't make a leader. So there's a confusion in our minds. Whoever is sitting in a high chair, he's a leader. He's not. That's not leadership. That's just, throwing your weight around, abusing the power of your chair. That's not leadership. Leadership is not a post. It's not a designation. Company CEO, managing director, vice president, president, chairman, these things mean nothing as far as leadership is concerned. A post doesn't make a leader. So usually it happens, whoever is sitting on a chair, he thinks by virtue of some divine law, he's a leader. That's not it. A chair cannot make a leader. An unworthy person holding a high chair, he degrades that position. And a worthy person, he adorns that position, adorns that chair. I'll give you one example again from history. I don't know how many of you have heard of Joan of Arc. She was listen to this very carefully, very unbelievable, something very, very, very incredible. She was a teenage illiterate girl of 17 years. And talking about 500 years back, when France was under the occupation of the English forces. And the French king was in exile, and he was surrounded in the city of Orleans. He was, the English had, created a blockade, a series of fortresses they had built, and the French king was in exile. And the French army was totally demoralized to fight against the English. This village girl, she comes out from a remote village, an illiterate girl, and she inspires these French soldiers to start the battle again with the English, and leading them, she wins victory after victory, and finally it ends up in the crowning of the French king who was in exile. And she thereafter she earned the title of the Maid of Orleans because she liberated that city. So this is a unique thing in history, it defies all logic. Why would soldiers listen to a illiterate village girl? But it happened like that. She was a teenager. And of course, later on, many unfortunate things happened. She was branded as a witch and all that, and she got into trouble with the church, and ultimately she was burnt at the stake at the age of 19. But the point is, Joan of Arc was neither a soldier nor had any military training, but she led soldiers, the French soldiers, against the British. So there was something in her which was not at all dependent on hierarchy or chair or position or designation or post. So all these things do not have anything to do with leadership. And you'll see at times in crisis situations, suppose a person who's supposed to lead, something happens to him. Suddenly he's not able to lead anymore. Then suddenly one person from the team, he comes up and he takes up the leadership, and the others obey him. They obey him because he has some leadership qualities. He's not holding that leadership position, but others start obeying him. He's called a situational leader. In that situation, he emerges as a leader. So this point we have to understand that leadership is not dependent on posts and designations, right? Okay, now can we have the third slide, please?
Can you see the third slide, sir?
Yeah, I can. Please show it for 1 or 2 seconds more. Yeah. Can we?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So what does this mean? The leader is person, not an organization. Obviously, this hardly needs any stating. What does it mean? It only means that people follow a person. They follow one particular person. They don't follow the organization. A leader should take a close look what he is inwardly and outwardly, because people are going to follow him. A person who doesn't have a full command, full control over his own physical, emotional, and intellectual equipment cannot lead. I'm hearing some disturbance. Are you people able to hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So a person who has no control over his own desires and passions, he cannot expect others to follow him. So self-management precedes management of others. We have to manage ourselves first before we can think about managing others. So self-management precedes the management of others. This, of course, requires a full elaboration, and there's a separate module for it, which I have kept separate. But The basic idea is this, that first you have to manage yourself first before you can think about managing others. And I'll go into it in the next slide also. It's about this only. And one thing is very essential for integral leadership, that is integrity, financial and moral integrity. Now, this is absolutely essential. A person who commits financial and moral acts of turpitude cannot expect that people are going to follow him. There's an anecdote again I would like to say. This is called the mirror test. This is again one interesting, very interesting real life incident. There was this German ambassador, and he was in London. They had in London they had this German embassy, and this they had organized a dinner for King Edward VII. This was in the year 1906, and this King Edward VII, he was a notorious womanizer. So if he was invited for dinner, it means that for his entertainment, women have to be arranged. That was the understanding, because he was a womanizer and like that. And as an ambassador of that, as a host of that, that event, the ambassador was expected to supply women to King Edward VII. And promptly, before the evening, he resigned from that post. And actually, he was a very promising diplomat, and it was expected that he would someday become the Chancellor of Germany. But something happened abruptly, and he resigned in the afternoon. Somehow they managed the situation. The dinner was managed and all that. But later on, when his own German authorities asked him, "Why did you do this? King Edward VII had come for the dinner, and you were supposed to host the dinner. And just before the event, you just resign and you walk away from the scene. How could you do that? And what made you do that?" He said, very enlightening words. He said, "I refuse to see a pimp in the mirror in the morning when I shave." Did you get it? He said, "I refuse to see a pimp in the mirror in the morning." So this is what moral rectitude is. Moral integrity, financial integrity. Now, people who deceive others for petty gains. Real leaders do not, deceive others. They do not commit immoral, unethical acts just to get ahead in life. Real leaders don't do that. I have given to Dr. Richa one poem by Dale Wimbrough titled "The Guy in the Glass." If I get some time at the end of the session, I will read it to you myself. It's only 20 lines, but if I don't get the time, I would request Dr. Richa to give a printout of this poem to each one of you. You must read this poem. This poem is
Sure.
called "The Guy." Yeah.
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah. So this poem is called "The Guy in the Glass" by Dale Wimbrough. And here you will, in this poem, again, you will find a further illustration what I'm talking about. It's about ethical integrity. It's about morality. Unless you have that, you can't be a leader. You can be a boss. There's a big difference between a boss and a leader. People will follow your orders. You can be a boss. But if you are morally, ethically, if you are not in the right, people will not follow you. That's, that should be clear in our minds. Because people, you see, when they follow a leader, they look up to him. He's something they respect. And if they know that this guy does all kinds of hanky-panky, they won't have any respect for him in their minds. So the question of following doesn't arise. Now, you see, I'll give one example from history. Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama, he stays in the Dharamshala, and he's a leader of the Tibetan people. When Tibet was crushed by China in the year 1959, Dalai Lama came to India along with his followers, and for the last 70, 80 years, he's staying in India. And his people, the Tibetan people, the Tibet has been totally taken over by China and all, and his people and the Tibetan nation, they have suffered for decades. But this man has won the Nobel Prize. He has never incited his people to get into violence or anything. He has always followed the path of Buddhism, and he has been a sincere disciple of Buddha. His life is a life of integrity, sacrifice, and cheerfulness. And he enjoys tremendous respect from everyone. Dalai Lama is respected by everyone. That's because of his integrity. He's a great leader of his own people. Now, again, in history also, there are other great leaders. Napoleon was there. Hitler was there. Even they are great leaders. But what was their problem? They had problems with their own drives and emotions. Napoleon was too ambitious and power hungry. Hitler was full of hatred. He was also power hungry, and he was full of hatred. You know what he did to the Jews. So with those adverse qualities, they brought them down. Though they were great leaders, because of those adverse qualities, they were brought down by those very adverse qualities. Here I will quote a small sentence from Sri Aurobindo, my guru. He says, "Our actual enemy is not any force exterior to ourselves, but our own crying weaknesses, our cowardice, our selfishness, our hypocrisy, our sentimentalism." This is what Sri Aurobindo says from one of his earlier writings, "New Lamps for Old." This is one of his earliest political writings. So this is what he says: our actual enemy is not any force exterior to ourselves. The enemy is inside us. Like Hitler's enemy and Napoleon's enemy, they were inside them. Whereas the Dalai Lama, he has conquered his internal enemies, and he's still respected and loved by everyone, except probably the Chinese. Anyway, can we go over to the next slide, please? Yeah. A leader is one who inspires. Right? Okay. If you cannot inspire others, you can't be a leader. A leader, he creates in others a sense of loyalty to him. They are loyal to him, and they are committed to the mission that he gives them. We can make others follow our orders by sitting on a high chair, like I said, but to inspire others, more is required. There was one president of a giant multinational corporation, and he was asked, what exactly do you do as a leader? And he said, I do not manufacture anything, I do not prepare anything, I just build my people." That is what a leader does. He is concerned about his people. He says that I build people. So basically, leaders make men. Man making is the job of a leader. Now, in order to do that, you need certain qualities. You have to, cultivate those qualities. You have to be a good orator. You have to be a good communicator, and you have to, resources. You have to have resources of the spirit uh, to inspire others. They should see a light in you which attracts them. Again, another example from history. We all know about Subhas Bose, Netaji. You see, he gave a cry. Said, all of you know, he said, "Give me blood and I will give you freedom." He didn't say, shed your blood and you'll get freedom. He didn't say that. He said, give me blood, I will give you freedom. So that is the force of a leader. That is how he inspires others. That is inspiring them. That I will give you freedom. If you have it in you, you give me blood. You give me blood. I will give you freedom. So that kind of force, that is what a leader has. Okay. Now can we go to the next slide? This is the fifth. Yeah. A leader leads by example. A leader leads by example. Needless to add, without the power of the example, it is very difficult to lead people. You can't lead people unless you set an example before them. There's a trend, in every sphere of life. Do as I say, don't do what I do. You must have heard this. Have you?
Yes, sir.
Do as I say, don't do as I do. It's a recipe for disaster for a leader. If you are planning, if you are thinking about becoming a leader, this sentence should be out of your vocabulary. Because you see, then the team members or whoever is following you, they're under you, they will tell you, your acts and behaviors are screaming so loudly at us that we are unable to hear what you are saying. You say that do as I say, don't do as I do. They will say, okay, what you are doing is so loud, we can't hear what you are saying. So people judge you by your actions. So if you are smoking and you tell your son, don't smoke, he's hardly going to listen to you. So you see, people are not going to follow if they see that their own leader is not following what he's preaching. So it's the power of example. You have to set an example for them. People are going to follow only when they respect. If they do not respect you, they will not follow you. Yes, they will follow your orders. They will follow your orders, but they will not follow you. When they follow your orders, you are merely a boss. You're not a leader. So in order to make others follow you, you have to be that example for them. So that is the difference between a boss and a leader. A boss will make you follow his orders, but a leader will make you follow him. On your own, you will find ways to align with what the leader is doing, even without a specific order maybe. That is what a leader does. So, and in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, there's a very powerful example that Krishna gives to Arjuna. You see, Krishna is perfect. He is God. He says that I need not perform any actions because I am the Lord of the three worlds. But still, I am doing all kinds of actions. I'm trying to. First, he tried to prevent the war, Mahabharata war between the two armies and all that. All that he did. Then he said, I need not do anything, but still I am doing. Why? Because people look up to me. They will follow what I am doing. For them, I have to set an example. And that is the very reason I'm working. I have no selfish motive. That is what Krishna says in the Gita. Then you see in this, I don't know how many of you are aware about the 2008 financial crisis.
Yes.
Are you aware what happened? The subprime, it started the subprime crisis, and there was a worldwide crisis, economic crisis. So you see, can you hear me?
So could you repeat that?
Sir,
Sorry?
can you please
So
repeat?
can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah. You see, leader is all about character. So all these whatever I'm saying, that the leader sets an example and all that. So it's all about character. So unless you have character, people are not going to follow you. And this character is not dependent on your technical knowledge, on your skill, and all these things. This is something innate. You have to develop those inner qualities to develop that character. You can be a successful executive, that anyone can be, with their communication skills and technical knowledge and all that. Anyone can become a successful executive, a successful career you can have, and all that. For that, you need not have character. But to become a leader, character is essential. And this 2008 financial crisis, it was brought about by people who were extremely technically sophisticated and who were knowledgeable. They were one of the highest paid professionals in the world. But they created a bubble economy. They speculated and gambled and brought about the crisis because they had zero character. They had no character. They were totally unethical and immoral. And that brought about the crisis. So that is the thing, character. Character is the central pillar of a leader. He must develop that character. Think about any great leader, Gandhi, Netaji, all those leaders I named. You think about them, strong characters. They're all strong characters. They had strong characters. Without that, leadership is not possible. And this is what it does. When you have character, you transform people. You transform people. And this is called transformative leadership. With your character, with the force of your character, with the power of your example, you transform people. And that is transformative leadership. So I have covered 5 points and 2 more points to go. Okay, I'll do it fast, and then we can have an interactive session. Identifying with a higher ideal, a mission. Okay. So a team is going to follow a leader only when they identify themselves with the mission. Like I said in the first point itself, a leader, he gives a vision, right? He has a vision, and that vision is translated into a mission in concrete activities. Now, the team will perform, and the team will make efforts only when they identify with that mission. If they're indifferent to it, then that mission will fail. They will perform only when they are loyal to that leader. I'll tell you a very short story. There was this construction work going on, and some stone sculptures, they were working on some stones. They were cutting stones and all that. So this person was passing along, and he asked one of the stone cutters, what are you doing? And he said, can't you see what I'm doing? I'm cutting stones. Then he passed over to the next guy and he asks him, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm a stone cutter and that's what I'm doing. I'm cutting stones. I'm earning bread for my family. I'm earning my living. This is what I do to feed my family, and I'm earning my living. Then the person goes over to the third person who is working on the stone with a smile on his face and even humming a tune. And he gets very surprised and he asks him, what are you doing? And he says, I'm building a temple. So that is what being identified with a mission means. All the 3 workers are working on stone. They are stone cutters, all 3 of them. But one of them identifies with the higher mission. For him, he's constructing a temple. It's not just earning money for himself. It's not just I'm cutting stone, I'm going to support my family. He has it in his heart and in his mind that I'm building a temple. That is identifying yourself with the higher mission. A leader is capable of doing that. He makes you, he inspires you enough to identify yourself with that higher mission. So identifying with the higher ideal, that is what true leader does. Now these are not done by the bosses. Only a true leader can do that. I'll give you an example of Swami Vivekananda. You see, he established the Ramakrishna mission more than 100 years ago. It's almost 125 years or so. And that movement has grown so much. It has got no profit motive. It has got no financial thing about it. But that movement has grown so much. Still, people are joining that movement. It's a way of life for people because it's a higher ideal. People have seen something higher in that. Even Sri Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo ashram, after my retirement, I have gone to Pondicherry and I am working for Sri Aurobindo Society. And that is an inner prompting I felt, and I have identified myself with that mission now. I want to do something for the work. So you see, I am identifying with a higher mission. Like that, thousands and millions of people all over the world are doing that. They identify themselves with a higher mission. That is what a leader does. So a leader's work, basically, it survives his lifetime. Even when he's gone, that work survives. That is the hallmark of a great leader. Okay. Now let's come to the last point. Yeah. Knowing your team, bridging the knowledge motivation gap. I'll elaborate on this. Okay. Knowing your team, bridging the knowledge and motivation gap. This is basically about empathy. By knowledge, knowledge is just a indicative word. By knowledge, we mean skill, expertise, technical knowledge. All this is knowledge. And motivation is commitment, drive, focus, perseverance. All these are motivation. Now, in your team, you would find there are certain number of individuals in your team. They are basically a mix of knowledge and motivation. Some people, they are highly knowledgeable and motivated, both. They hardly require any, leading. They hardly require any instruction and all that. Hello? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you will find in a particular team, there are members who are highly motivated and who are highly knowledgeable. So you just have to be there. And when they require that guidance, you have to provide that guidance. But others in the team, you would find some members, they are knowledgeable, but not motivated enough. Or vice versa. They are highly motivated, but they are not so knowledgeable. So for the first group, you have to motivate them. They are knowledgeable, but you have to motivate them. You have to see where their deficiencies lie. And here, one size fits all will not work. You have to know each and every team member. And that is what empathy is. You have to know each and every team member to see where those deficiencies are. And for the team member who is motivated, but who is not having knowledge, you have to provide training for him. You have to give him the required inputs. And if there are people in your team who have neither knowledge nor they are motivated, well, I don't see any reason why should they be there in your team at all. So basically, we are talking about these three groups. Both knowledge and motivation is there, strong. There's knowledge, but there's lack of motivation. That's one group. And there's motivation, but lack of knowledge. So these are the three groups. And you have to know your team and you have to bridge this knowledge motivation gap. If motivation is lacking, you have to motivate. If knowledge is lacking, you have to provide the inputs through training. And you have to bridge that gap. And that is why you see in our country we had this Guru Shishya Parampara. because the guru did not give the same method of training to all his disciples in the same way. Because that is why that knowledge motivation gap he always had in his mind. According to that knowledge motivation gap, he used to train his disciples, because they are all at different levels of development. We are not at the same level. Even in this classroom, not all of you are equally developed. There's difference in your levels of development. There's difference in your priorities, in your values, in your way of thinking, in your character. So whoever is going to lead you, he should know that. And accordingly, that knowledge motivation gap has to be bridged. And my final point is, there are three basic motivating powers. No, not the last slide right now. Yeah. There are three motivating factors, motivating powers, I would say, in a man's life. One is will. You see, some people are driven by a strong willpower. They have tremendous willpower. They are basically people who are driven by the will. And there are another class of people who are driven by emotions. They are highly emotional people. They get emotional very quickly. They are driven by emotions, strong emotions. And there's one more class who are intellect oriented, who think a lot, who judge, who weigh pros and cons, who exercise their rationality. They are the intellectual type. So one is the persons with a strong will. One is a group with strong emotions, and the other is a strong intellect. So these are the three types of human beings you'll come across, and accordingly, you have to build that team knowing what motivates this man. Is it will? Is it emotions, or is it intellect? That is why in our spiritual traditions we have the three paths of karma yoga for the people who are strong in will, bhakti yoga for the people who are strong in devotion, and jnana yoga for the people whose intellect is strong. And Sri Aurobindo's method is integral yoga. He says we have to develop all of these together. And an integral leader is one who pays attention to all these three areas of his life: dynamic will, emotions, proper balanced emotions, emotions under control, and exercise of the intellect. That is what an integral leadership is. So I would go through all the 7 points in quick succession. An integral leader is one who has a vision and a mission. That is one. Number two is leadership is not a chair. It's not hierarchy. It's not a high chair. Number three is leader is a person. Character matters. Number four is leader is one who inspires. The leader inspires his team. And number six is leader leads by example. And after that, the higher mission, the story of the stone cutters. I am building a temple. And finally, knowing and bridging the knowledge motivation gap. So basically, you have to be a thought leader. You see, nowadays, even corporate houses, they are calling people like Gaur Gopal Das, Sadhguru for giving training inputs. These people are not from the business world at all. Gaur Gopal Das, I'm sure you must have heard. Sadhguru.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so they are not from the business world, but they are being called by the corporate houses to impart training to their employees. Why? Because they are thought leaders. They can mold people's thoughts. They can lead people through the power of their example. So that is all integral leadership is all about. And I would like to take some questions if you have any. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We have few questions.
Yeah, please,
Yes, sir.
please.
So, sir, I wanted to.
Just give me a minute. I need a small drink of water. Just a minute.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, sir, I've just got a couple of questions for you. The first one is, so the first one is, there's this one edtech startup called Mind Valley, and the founder, Vishen Lakhiani, said in an interview that when he's hiring candidates, he outlines the mission that he has for the company, like, you know, a long-term 5 to 10 year vision as to what the company wants to accomplish. And his thing is like, if you're aligned with this and you resonate with this, then you should apply for this job. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless to even apply. So, sir, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on that as a sort of recruitment strategy and leadership approach?
Yeah. You see, if in an interview a person is saying that you have to identify yourself with a mission, 5 years, 10 years, I don't know how the candidate is going to identify himself with it. Actually, you grow into that mission. It's not that
Right.
you memorize one paragraph and say yes, I know your mission and I identify myself with it. Do you think it's like that? It's not like that. You grow into a mission as you are under an effective leader. There's an effective leader who guides you. You slowly grow into that mission. And you can put up a show saying that yes, I identify with your mission, but I don't really think that's how it works. That is my opinion.
Sir, I mean, actually, the vision is not like set in stone, but it's kind of like a direction. It's more of like a direction which he's saying, like, we're
Yes.
gonna go a particular direction. So because it's like the exact destination, I don't think anybody knows in business or in life, because things do happen as well. I think through COVID also that has been sort of amplified. But sir, I think every company does have some sort of direction in which they will be taking steps. So he's sort of
But
trying to identify whether the candidate is aligned with that.
yeah, but without really joining the company and knowing it inside out, being an outsider, how are you going to,
No, no,
say
so
that?
he tells them, he tells them in the interview that this is the direction in which the company plans to move, and then the
You,
candidate.
I think you have to simply say that yes, I'm with this. I am willing to go in this direction. I am willing to grow with this mission. You have to say that. At the interview stage, you hardly can do anything.
Yes, sir.
Interview stage is, it's too, it's too much in the beginning. We can't do much with that. You just have to be smart enough to get the job in the first place.
No, I think Arjun, what he meant is that the organization, this shows that the organization has a vision.
Yes, sir.
So, uh, you know, so if they have a vision from organizational perspective, then automatically organization will, have some mechanism to ensure that the team or, employees move in the same direction with them, and
So,
maybe, by
so,
organizing various
so that
training.
the,
Yeah,
the employees have to imbibe that mission into themselves,
true.
isn't it? They have to
Yeah,
imbibe it. And that takes time. That takes time. That takes training. That takes inputs. In one day, you don't get yourself imbibed into a mission. It takes time to get into that mission
right.
mode.
Yeah, second question.
Yeah,
Yes,
please,
ma'am.
please.
So my question to you is, how do good leaders deal with criticism and still manage to keep their morale high?
Yeah, that is where you see the emotional stability thing comes. Like I told you, there are three motive factors in a human being. One is the will, one is emotions, and one is the intellect. So when there's criticism comes your way, unless you have that emotional stability in you, that you to deal with adverse remarks, criticisms, unless you have that emotional stability, you won't be a good leader, because then you'll react, you'll become angry, you won't see the point of view of the other person, you won't see whether actually there is any truth in what he's saying, whether there is any truth in that criticism. You'll be blind to all that because your emotion would take over your intellect. So that is where that rounded development, integral leadership is this only, that you have to be balanced in all your aspects. You may be a tremendously brainy guy, but if you are emotionally, if you are not stable, then that tremendous intellect will not be of any help, because like in a situation like this, when the criticism comes, you won't be able to see the truth. Your emotion will overpower you. So that is what integral leadership is. You have to be a rounded personality. All the aspects have to be developed in an equal manner. Yeah.
Sir, what strategies can a leader use to build trust among their team members?
Yeah, very good question. Can you please repeat it once more? What qualities can a leader?
What strategies can a leader use to build trust among their team members?
Yeah, trust. It's all about being an example. You can build trust only when you are an example to your people. It's your own life. You build trust through the way you conduct your own life. That is how you build trust. You see, if someone in your family, he trusts you. Why does he trust you? Because the way you have conducted yourself all your life. That is how he trusts you. And if you have conducted yourself in an abominable manner, then he will not trust you. So it's your behavior only that makes others trust you. So it's all about yourself, how you conduct yourself, how you are able to make an example of yourself with the others. That is how they come to trust you. And like I said, you have to be financially, ethically, you have to be on the right. You cannot do, immoral things and earn the trust of people. That cannot happen.
Yes, Rishi.
Next.
So, sir, can you please talk about emotional intelligence in your leadership?
The role of emotional intelligence in leadership.
Okay. Emotional intelligence means we are talking about EQ, right? Yeah. So again, EQ is like emotional intelligence, like I said, there are three aspects. One is the will, one is the emotion, one is the intellect. We all have a certain range of emotions. But when in the workplace we are leading a team, certain emotions simply we cannot give expression to those like we cannot be too angry, we cannot show too much greed, we cannot show too much fear. If we These are all emotions which we all have. So emotional intelligence is whether in a work situation or any other situation when you are leading a team, this emotional aspect has to, the training of the emotions is very important. You must have a strong control. Basically it's the control of emotions. Now if we take the practical example of the Mahabharata war, the Bhagavad Gita, what actually happened? Arjuna is a warrior who has fought all his life. He's a kshatriya, but when the time of battle comes, he's emotionally he's a person who's collapsed. There's a breakdown. There's an emotional breakdown. Arjuna has not forgotten his archery skills. He has not lost his physical strength or anything. Emotionally, he has broken down. So that emotional stability has to be there. So basically, it's a training of the emotions. You have to know those, like the inadequacies. Now again, that will take some time. The six ripus that we call: Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are the six emotions which we have to control. If you control these six emotions, then you have emotional stability, and that is emotional intelligence. Okay, can I give you a short list? Can you just make a short list of these 6 points? Calm is lust, Krodh is anger, Lobh is greed, fourth is moha, that is delusion, and pride and envy. These are the six emotions you have to keep under check. If you do that, you are emotionally intelligent.
So could you repeat the last three? So lust, anger, greed. What are the last three?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Sir, can you please repeat last three?
Moha is delusion.
Mo-
When because of your emotional, the strength of your emotions, you are not able to see the truth. It clouds your intelligence. That is moha. And last one is mad and matsarya. Mad is pride. Matsarya is envy. Kam, krodh, lust, anger. Kam, krodh, greed, delusion, envy, and pride. If you conquer these 6 emotions, conquer at least keep in check. Let's forget about conquering. At least keep in check. If you can keep them in check, you are an emotionally intelligent person. Your intelligence then will function at a very high level because it is not being short circuited by your emotions. Your intelligence will perform at a very high level. That is why these methods have been given. Yeah.
Sir, one last question.
Yeah.
Uh, how does a leader balance the need for decisiveness and the importance of seeking input from the team for the consensus?
Dr. Richa, please translate that question for me. I'm not able to hear properly.
Yeah, sure, sir. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah. What did he say?
He's coming here. Yes. Acha, you want to say?
Sir,
Yeah.
how does leader balance between decisiveness and the need for team consensus from the team?
Decisiveness and consensus from the team.
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
when how do you balance like basically taking the decision yourself and when do you want to leave it on your team?
You see, I'll tell you, when a true leader, most of the what to say. Do you think Netaji was a very consensus leader who depended on consensus, or Gandhi was a leader who depended on consensus, or do you think Napoleon was a leader who was very consensual leader who took a lot of leadership at that level? Is not democracy. It's not democracy. You can say it's one kind of authoritarianism. The leader has to have that, authority, that vision, and the confidence in his vision and mission. He has to transmit that vision and mission to his team. It's not that, okay, we are going to do this. Hey, what do you think? What does Mr. A think? What does Mr. B think? What does Mr. C think? Let's see what you all think. Let me gather all your opinions, and then I will. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. The 7 points that I talked about, it's not that. The leader must, like on the very first sentence I said, the leader sees something which others don't. He sees something. That's his vision. So when he has that vision, this question of, okay, consensus what? About the methodologies to be adopted to achieve that mission. Methods can be discussed. Whether this method would be right or that method would be right, that can be discussed. That can be worked out depending on the temperament, ability, and motivation of the team members. Methodologies can be discussed, and consensus can be arrived at. But like decision making, you were saying, decision making is the result of vision and mission. That is not the result of consensus and a democratic. It's not a democratic process. I don't think so. At least that is my opinion.
That's it, sir. So thank you so much for such
Dr. Richa,
enriching.
thank you, Dr.
Uh,
Richa. Thank you. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys liked it. I
Sorry,
hope you
sir.
guys liked it.
Yeah, that was a very interesting session, and I really like the second last point of bridging the gap between knowledge and
Knowledge and
motivation.
motivation. Yeah.
So it has been a very enriching experience. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
valuable
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you once again. All right,
Thank
sir.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.